Welcome back. We're back with another video. So we had a bunch of topics going, but we finally stuck to one, right? Because I, for some reason, have like 100 things. I just go with my S Pen, and I'm just like, if I'm chilling, I have a minute to myself. I'm like, I'm gonna start writing stuff out. So this one was an interesting topic I thought about, which was, damn if I can remember the topic.
Shoe on the other foot.
So this one was shoe on the other foot. Like a lot of times, this could be in business. This could be with my wife. I take this into daily life. I put myself in the other person's shoes before I immediately judge or immediately commit to an argument or commit to a stance or a side. Right? I have the way I think is part of who I am, but I don't necessarily I don't look at the person and pretend like their side isn't valid or their side isn't important. This is just part of being a good fucking human, just to begin with, right? Just being a good person. And there's some people in my life that I wish would do this more fucking often. I always go like, why don't you just put yourself in my shoes once and just then you could decide on what you think is the best. But overall, even in marriage, it happens. Like, if my wife could be in my shoes for this week. On Monday, I got hit in the lip with a fitting. On Tuesday, I got my daughter closed my toe in the door, broke my damn toe. On Wednesday, I felt like I was getting sick. On Thursday, I got like there's a bunch of things that happened, and then I busted my ass, and then I help him run a company at the same time, taking care of the kiddo, right? And then my wife is like, so anyway, I need a break. I'm tired. I'm like, I'm beat. I gotta go. And I'm like, if you could just put yourself in my shoes for 1 second, can I get a break? Can I get one fucking break? But me putting myself in her shoes, going, holy crap! Actually, if you think about it, she's the one who picked up the kid all day. She's the one who cooked. She's the one who's been around a 5-year-old all freaking week long, and plus has 10 more days to come for spring break. With the kid by herself while I'm out working, I put myself in her shoes. You know what? Take a break. You go out. Here's whatever. Go get your nails done. Get a spa day going. So flipping that out, and I could have battled her with my end of it, but instead I decided let me put the shoe on the other foot, and it's somewhat of a compromise there too, because I put the shoe on the other foot. That's just one example of many on topic utilizing this in work. Utilizing this in a customer setting we're a big part of customer service. So me being a plumber, Moses, and doing what we do, sometimes you need to solve a bunch of. I look at it like a bunch of balloons, and she has 1,000 questions she wants answered. She knows nothing about my industry, so I have to pop those question bubbles to kind of give her an understanding on exactly what her options are to resolve and solve the issue. So it's just, there's so many ways that you could use this thing that's friendship oriented, work oriented, or relationship oriented, that it could help you out in your life if you just put the shoe on the other foot. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like there's a lot of problems that probably wouldn't be problems if we just did that. Just put the shoe on the other foot. Just try to see things on someone else's perspective. Yeah, I do that a lot as well, and it's something that happened where I could get angry about it, but I'm like, okay, I wonder how that person felt about it. Or yeah, I'm just always trying to put myself in other people's shoes anyway. That's something I live by.
Since I was young, I think I did that.
Yeah, I think I'm less judgmental. I'm more understanding when I do that, because I'd like people to do the same for me.
Yeah.
It's like one of those
treat people how you want to be treated.
Treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
So I can bring up an example of I hate people being sarcastic with me, right?
Yeah.
Like people, like the person is saying something, they low key trying to play you.
Yeah.
But they're not.
It's like dissing you with a smile on their face.
Yeah. And they think, and it's worse when they think that you don't notice it, right?
Yeah. It's like it's an insult.
It's an insult, right?
Yeah.
So I used to just play dumb and stuff like that, act like I don't understand stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I noticed that sometimes I can be sarcastic with people also.
Right.
and I noticed that. Oh, I noticed that like I would bring up something to someone as if they didn't know what I was talking about, stuff like that, and
Yeah.
people would like probably felt like I was trying to play them or I thought they were dumb.
Yeah. But you took
But
their feelings into consideration.
I did.
Yeah.
I took their feelings in consideration, and now I feel like I'm less sarcastic, even though my intentions is not to
You're more self-aware.
I'm more self-aware.
Yeah.
My intention is not to try to play anyone right or make them feel bad.
Yeah.
And I remember, okay, man, I hate when people
Did that to
are
me.
sarcastic with me.
Yeah.
So now my sarcasm is not. I'm not as sarcastic with people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
With
Take-
that in mind, you know,
Yeah.
which
That's
is
good.
putting the shoe on the other foot.
That's good. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I try to do that in every conversation I have, especially if we're talking about a certain topic or we're trying to understand something better, right? If you can see the other person's point of view or where they're coming from with what they're saying, you can kind of understand. You understand them better. You can't really have a conversation with somebody, especially if you're talking about. And I'm more talking about understanding like issues, and that's what kind of I use it a lot in. Just understanding, just even if we talk about like politics, right? You're talking about, Democrat or Republican or something like that. Putting yourself into other people's shoes to see why, maybe they're thinking the way they think or why they got to this
Yeah.
certain point, and you're like, all right, well, I can understand that. Because it may help you to understand theirs better, and maybe it helps you to understand your own point better. Your own point of view of how you want, how you live, or whatever you stand for.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people don't stand for anything, and they go along with anything, and then that's just the people. I think because I stand for a certain thing, I try to understand if I'm even standing in the right place, if I'm standing for the right things.
Sometimes
And I
you can make you think like, wait, am I in the right
Yeah, I
position?
always question myself. If
Yeah.
I hear somebody giving a conversation about, marriage, it could be, marriage is a good one, right? Because I always do that with marriage, right? Because you always think you're doing the right thing, everything I'm doing is right, this is correct, and then you hear somebody say, well, maybe you shouldn't do this, and then you're like,
Wait,
damn, am I doing that?
Am I doing that?
Let me put myself in, my wife's shoes from how I'm reacting, or my wife says something to me, and I'm like,
No, it makes
if
sense.
she said that to me, what would I say? Like, you know what I mean? I try to do that. I do that with the customers all the time. You know what I mean? Like, but I want some guy to come in here and tell me, just redo this whole thing, right? It's like, sounds good. It sounds good for me. It don't work for him. They always said when I learned about sales is, or certain authors always talked about, the real thing is for the customer to win, right? And I think that goes along with life, right? The other person, right? Is for if they win, I win, everybody wins type of thing.
Yeah.
And I try to go into conversations like that. I want the outcome to be, we
all win.
but I got to understand their side and where they're coming from
Yeah.
more to get to that point, right? If I just, combat them, if we're talking about, a topic we're talking about, it's just like when you see like, a homeless person, you put yourself in their shoes,
Yeah.
even though you probably can't see yourself in those shoes, but it gives you a little bit of understanding. But this is just random people that you see. If sorry, somebody
Yeah.
it might be a little easier. But yeah, I think that's it humbles you. It keeps you like grounded,
Yeah.
right? Knowing that you could be in the same position, and just it makes you a better person, I think.
But that's what I'm saying. It's good human being shit. I also
Yeah.
think too, like being combative and being like, I want to push my point so hard onto you for you to understand where I'm coming from. There's some people who you are. This is another crazy thing too. Like you are in your perspective and how you see things, how you look at the world, how you see yourself. Even is coming from you, but from the outside looking in, or it could be a partner or a friend or whoever. It could even be a stranger. How their perception of you might be completely different than your perception of you. So being open and available for that conversation to get, whether it's getting deep or just understanding where they're coming from or understanding why they're in the position they are, could make that conversation flow where it's non-combative, where it doesn't have to be I commit to this one way of thinking and that's it, and then you can kind of add to it. Some of people are coming at it in a wrong angle sometimes, or they're just being dicks and like sarcastic or rude or whatever. Those ones you can just disregard. But how did that person come to that idea bothers me sometimes. How do they come to that easily? Like how are you immediately defensive or immediately coming across sarcastic or immediately being a dick? Why do they think that way? Why is their brain ticking that way. So the next time we have that conversation,
and that's
we don't have
exactly.
to. We don't have to go
Put
there.
yourself in their shoes. You gotta. If you go off of that, then you can kind of. All right. Well, I can see how he got to that point from this
thing that happened,
how
or
he
whatever.
grew up, or whatever, or who he's deal with, or the women he dealt
What
with,
he's
or
used
whatever.
to.
And you can see that.
Dude, your boss could have literally. You could have been late once out of a 15-year career with the same company, but he's used to people being late every single day. And that one time you're late, he's like, "Yo, what the hell? What's going on? Like, you're late. We're gonna have to dock your pay. We're gonna have to suspend you. This is ridiculous, right?" But he's used to doing that with so many people. But he didn't put himself in your shoes, going like, "This dude's only been late once out of 10 years. Shit, my bad. You know what? Look, I'm gonna let it slide this time. You typically don't. This is not something you do on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Just don't let it happen again. You know, it goes both ways, right? It could go from the other person. If everybody does it, it's
But you gotta
good
put
human
yourself in
being
your
shit.
boss's shoes too.
That's what I'm saying, on both
Yeah.
ends. On
Yeah,
both
you're
ends.
right.
Like, I
Put
get
yourself in your
why
boss's shoes
I just
and put
explained
yourself-
it. The reason
yeah.
why the boss did it, because
Yeah.
people like that do it every day to him for
Yeah.
10 years. So he comes at you with this
You just
aggression.
understand why he's doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. And then he can understand why you're doing it, because you're like, bro, I've
And then
never
you can
been late.
explain it back to him.
Exactly.
Like, I know everybody's been coming here late for the last 10 years, but like, listen, I was late one time.
10 years, bro.
Right? You can explain that to him because you can see where he's coming from. He might has a lot of people, right?
Right.
He might be, really like crazy. He might have got in trouble himself for being later. I don't
Yeah.
know. You gotta kind
You
of
don't know.
you gotta kind of
You don't know how his day
Yeah.
was, or their day. Even that couldn't even be business. It could be just a person you're talking to.
It's the same thing I would say,
You don't know how their day
this
was.
is off topic, but
Yeah, yeah.
well, it's not off topic. It's like with the cops nowadays too. I see a lot of videos of with people
It's not off topic.
that are like getting pulled over. They want to video camera the guy. They want to talk to him. They want to tell you their statute. Like, I know statute's 214. You can't search my car, right? I know. People are walking up to cops randomly. Like, I'm watching videos.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know how I get to these videos.
Yeah, no.
You guys are gonna say, like, I don't see those videos, but I don't know. But you got a guy walking into like a station. And he's like, you have to leave the
Section
station.
two-
They're like, well, section 213 says I don't have to leave the
Yeah.
station. This is a public property, and
like,
I'm here. And they're
what
like,
is this
why
guy?
are you here? And he's like, I was just coming in to check on. So are you gonna leave? No, I'm not gonna leave, and you can't make me leave, right? And it's like,
Always ends with a taser.
right. But when you put yourself in the cops' position, the cop's doing his job.
Yeah.
He's pulling you over for whatever reason, right? He's gonna tell you the reason. He's gonna give you a ticket. Or he might not give you a ticket. Whatever it is, what it is. But it's like, put
The amount of
yourself in
things
their
that-
shoes.
How
for
many
a
times
minute.
did the cop pull somebody over in that same situation and that turned dangerous?
And they could have,
he's
or they seen somebody
some
get
people,
dangerous.
or somebody got
So
shot
I think that's another
because
thing.
they took it lightly.
Like going into restaurants, service. Like I remember one time we had a person with bad service, right? The guy was like all over the place. I could see him walking around dizzy in the head, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, maybe this dude, know what happened to this dude. His dog could have died,
Anything.
right? He could have been like having a boyfriend could have dumped him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever
could be
it
a
is.
boyfriend or girlfriend
Yeah.
dumped him or whatever. So maybe that's what's going on. Maybe he's not normally like this, right? Right? So I don't know.
We don't know.
So I was like, let me put myself in his shoes. I don't want to call him out and be like, oh, this might be the only time he ever has a bad interaction. He might have 100 other interactions. Just but
Amazing
mine was
interactions.
bad.
Yeah, just wrong,
Right?
wrong
So,
place,
like,
wrong time.
In that situation, that's another way I do it.
Mm-hmm.
My customers, of course, right? Sometimes they greet me. Sometimes they're real, and sometimes they're in a rush. They're in the move. And it might not be because of me. It might be because they have other things to do, or they got something important they got to take care of. I put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, all right. Or maybe it's not just
you
know
can
you
feel
being
that
a
mo.
dick.
You can feel it. Yeah.
You being a straight dick doing it, right?
Yeah, you can feel it.
We said it in marriage, in daily routine. I say, like, we run into people. You run into somebody,
it.
they're giving you a look. You don't know what's going on in that day. You put yourself in their shoes, you probably would react the same way if you're not, self-aware of your actions and stuff, which I try to be. So that's why I said, like, all those situations, these are like normal daily situations. You're putting yourself in other people's shoes to see why, maybe it wasn't what you thought it was. Because some people jump to conclusions that it's just about you and how, how you interpreted whatever they were doing.
Traffic. The other
Yeah,
day,
traffic.
a guy flicked me off,
Yeah, I don't do
beeped his horn, held on the horn. It's another plumbing truck. Blah, 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 right? And I'm like, okay, I don't know who that. But typically, like, I'm not an angry guy, so I don't just freak out about that stuff. To come to find out, my old helper was in the passenger seat telling this random person to flick me off. But I found that out later. But if I had reacted to that and got close to him and flicked him off, and we would have gotten into a big beef about it, whatever. He's on the phone with my old helper going like, oh, that's Lou, flick him off. It's a 382. Jet V20, flick him off, right? So that's just a little thing he knows about me. So he's doing, you know what I mean? He's just playing I could have took it so seriously, but I didn't. I'm like, put myself in the other guy. I don't know his situation, and then it turns out his situation was my boy was on the other line.
Man, that's some examples daily that I want. You know, I'm trying to bring up because I know
It happens
people
all the time.
do daily shit. What do you think,
But-
Paquito?
Yeah.
Um,
Attitude at the damn donut shop, but the lady having an attitude or something.
Yeah.
I put myself in their shoes. You getting
Yeah, yeah,
$13
for
an
sure.
hour?
Yeah, bro, she's
I'll
tough.
be probably upset. too, a little
Take
bit.
your barbecue sauce,
or
motherfucker.
even less.
Unless, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I can
definitely.
understand.
For sure.
I understand. That's why when I go to McDonald's, I don't expect superior service.
True.
I don't go to McDonald's. I hate people with me at McDonald's, and they're like, "What's taking so? What are you guys doing?" I'm like, "Bro, you going to McDonald's, bro? Like,
What'd
I
you
know you ain't
expect?
expecting like, oh, for them to roll out the red carpet for you and you to give you a paper. I expect customer service, right? If I go to Chick-fil-A and I see it's off, then I'm like, all right.
If you go to Ruth Chris or Steak
on.
954, that's a different.
But even
Different
even Chick-fil-A, you like if they don't greet me and they don't say hello and
Something's
say
off.
God bless, I'm
Something's
like
wrong.
that's something wrong.
Something's
This
wrong.
guy right here is
Yeah.
crazy.
That's part of their routine.
But that's what I'm
what they
saying.
do.
When you go there and you see something, like, I don't go to McDonald's expecting these people to be like
True.
bending their knee to me,
Yeah.
right? They're not gonna do that. That's just not. I put myself in their shoes. Like I probably wouldn't do it either if I'm back there
Yeah.
sweating and getting $12, $10, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
so that's why I say I do that a lot. I don't. One thing I'll tell you, I don't approve of it and I don't like accept it. I don't think it's acceptable. I think, you know, even in those positions or whatever, in that type of situation, you should still do your best, treat people with respect, do the best you can do, like how to treat people.
Yeah.
Even if you're making $10 an hour.
There's some people who are
right?
just gonna get
I
offended
don't
just
agree with
because.
it.
They're
Yeah, I
just
don't
gonna get
agree with it,
offended.
but I can understand it to a point where I'm not gonna get upset myself.
You can only
about it,
control what you can control.
right?
At the end of the
Like
day.
I wouldn't do it probably, even if that was my first job and I was my, you know, I would probably still do it to the best of my ability,
Yeah.
just because
We live in
that's my
we live in
thinking.
a time and an era where everybody's defensive and everybody has this like offended kind of thing, right? You could say the wrong word. You can have a great conversation and have to say one wrong word, and like, what you mean that this is what you've done? Or you just assume that I'm this, instead of it being like, so it happens, right? But not every situation's exactly that situation. So if you treat every one of them, you might get one or two that are like that out of the 100 people that you talk to or come across throughout the week. But if you come across with every one of them, then only the one or two are going to have that little bit of an issue that you don't have to interact with. You can choose to not interact with it. Be like, okay, sir, have a good day. See you later, and don't entertain his nonsense. But if you're treating every interaction that way, it's definitely going to help you.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Paquito?
One thing that I did say, another reason why I always put the shoe on the other foot is because I think of myself as I don't know if this is a word, but a solution-oriented person,
Yeah, I get that.
right? That kind of piggybacks on something one of you guys said.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for a solution, so it's like, okay, in order to get the solution, I have to understand your point of view. It's not all about, what I think and I have to be right or I want to be right. It's about, okay, I'm going to say my part, you're going to say your part, and let's try to find some middle ground.
Middle ground.
And then if
And
you
I
can,
like learning too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe,
So,
maybe they
yeah.
know something. Yeah.
So learning is always like, I have to hear your part to also, it could get me to change my mind, because I'm not just rooted in
Yeah.
how I think.
Yeah.
Some people it's like my way or the highway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
there are
like,
some people.
it can change. Some things are rooted. Some things,
Yeah,
like,
that's
you
what I
ain't
was
gonna
gonna
get
say.
me to change my mind
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that. But some other things, like a lot of other things, like I'll hear you out, you know what I'm saying, and so I can learn. And I feel smarter. I feel like I'm getting smarter being this way. You know what I'm saying? Just listening to different people.
Listen.
And,
It's what
yeah.
it's history too. It's what we used to do back in the day. Everybody, like, not everybody. We didn't have cell phones. They didn't have anything in the Roman times, right? In the Viking days, like, they didn't have anything. They had to gain knowledge with travel and understanding different stories. Most of them all came across as storyline and stories that they told, and some of those lessons that they learned in those stories were a big monumental factor in how things run today. It's just they had to learn it. You had to go through it. You had to be open-minded enough to know it instead of being a cannibal, instead of being a caveman. You needed to be able to grow. And I think this is what the world's missing these days. This
Yes.
whole, like, let me just stick to this one path and I'm going to convert you to my thing, that means that everybody is trying to start their own religion. Everybody's trying to start their own group think on their one topic when there's 1,000 topics in the room. Pick people's minds, pick people's brains. Be open to putting putting the shoe on the other foot for you to have those discussions, to be open. We were just watching like a panel video and there's 8 people in that video. Each person has their own idea on the same similar topic, and having those multiple ideas can adjust what you were thinking to maybe a better idea on what you had, because you have way more information than you did before. Mm-hmm. It's super smart to just keep your mind open, and especially in the day of the internet, like this is.
But I think also,
never had this before.
You know, there's so much in the internet that you do have to have some basis,
Yeah.
or
Some
some type
boundaries.
of boundary or some type of thing that you don't cross, right?
Yeah.
And I would think that's be your like morals or your values.
Yeah.
Because the internet is so like wild that if
So
you
many
just
things.
let the internet pick where you're going on a certain topic, like you could be all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, or where you stand in life, or what you want to do purpose wise or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have some type of standard value.
I agree
I
with
got to
that.
teach my son.
You know what it is too? Like there's a set algorithm, like my YouTube or my Instagram or I'll unset. So there's a way to unset that where it's not, so you're not just getting the same specific algorithm that you used to get. I'll play with that. I do that in life also. It's not just in my freaking internet scrolling. It's not just in my social media scrolling or my YouTube scrolling. I'll reset it all and then see if that similar algorithm comes up. And I might even intentionally add things to that algorithm so I can toy with it, because most people aren't focused. I think that a lot of people aren't focusing on what the content they're listening to every day, what they're hearing every day, what's popping up on their social when they're scrolling on their TikTok. They're not. Reset that filter one time and see what else pops up, and try to fuck with it a little bit to see what new things you can learn. Right? You don't want to set yourself and trick yourself into this specific way of thinking. And part of that is doing that. And I reset my algorithm daily, not just on my phone, but in my brain. In my day, and meeting people all the time, and talking to people all the time.
Yeah, you should question your thinking.
Always. Don't just question the world, question yourself.
Question your thinking.
Yeah.
For sure. I do that all the time.
It's wisdom,
We
son.
were just driving the other, me and Paquito were talking about that earlier, about just everything you think about is like questionable. But you like I said, but then you know what I mean, after you still have to come from a certain point, but it's, I get you, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Reset that algorithm, guys. Don't forget. You know what I'm saying? Follow, like, share, subscribe. We out.